What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Salamangreat. So we are now in still a format of fire, even the Tempires are fire, so why not relive Salamangreat, who did get a nice little bit of support in the form of Code of Soul from Legacy of Destruction. Now you might not think that one card changes a lot in a deck, but actually it does change quite a lot, because you even go back to playing this guy right here, Salamangreat Pyro Phoenix, because it gets the ability to nuke your opponent's board during their turn. So at the end of the video, I'll also show you a one card combo, and that one card combo will come from pump cards. I'm also going to put a link in the description below to their combo video, because I think that they put together an incredibly good combo video utilizing the Soul of Code for the deck. Now you don't have to play Soul and Code of the deck, but I do feel that it gives a different angle to it, and it is really kind of cool. On the benefit of that, because of Promethean Princess, you're also able to play through stuff like Nibiru as well, so it's less effective and it's no longer a, if they see Nib, it's game over. It's if they see Nib, you can still play, which is really important. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With that out of the way, we're going to dive headfirst into the profile, and I'm going to talk you through everything I've chosen and why I've chosen it. So you start off with triple Salamangreat Spinny alongside triple Salamangreat Gazelle. These are your main Salamangreat main deck monsters, in my opinion. Now you'll find out as we go through this that we've actually cut down the usefulness or the reliance on Salamangreat of Fire, which does then kind of give a bit of a different angle to the deck. It does still mean, sadly, you need to get hold of at least 2 of the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, which is the most expensive card, but now is the time to pick up Fire on a little bit of a cheap kind of alternative if you want to as well. Now the reason that we don't rely on Salamangreat of Fire is because throughout the combo that we actually make, we do go into other monsters than Fire, and you want to make sure you don't lock yourself into Fire. So of course you've got your Spinny as your best ideal extender, as well as Gazelle, because Gazelle can then Foolish Berry and continue making your plays. Another one of the really important cards in this deck now is Salamangreat Weasel, and the reason this is so important is because you can special summon a monster to your opponent's field and trigger your own Promethean Princess, which ultimately leads you to getting back a Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, or lead into a Raging Phoenix, Pyro Phoenix, you name it. You're going to add more to your board, which is really cool. We've also got the one Foxy to deal with back rows, and again a bit of an extender, and I'm also playing the one Foul, Jag, and of course Falco. Now you don't need to play these. If you do want to cut down the Foul and the Falco, you can then bump up the Code of Soul, but as a preview, I'm only playing one Code of Soul, and the reason for that is you have so many different ways to actually get it from the deck, whether you are searching it or special summoning it through the deck, which we'll see in the combo at the end of the video, involving a very spicy extra deck card from Fire Fist, so again, shout out to Pump Card on that one. So the reason I kept with Foul and Falco is sometimes these do come up to help you extend a little bit more, push past some of your opponent's forms of interruption, and they can be quite useful, and a lot of people do undervalue them sometimes. I've got no issue if you wanted to take them out, change them up. You can play Signet Mining. I've chosen not to go down that route. I've also got another alternative whether you want to main deck Nibiru or not, so there is some flex spots in the deck should you want to. So let's talk about Code of Soul, which is the brand new card that we received. So if you control a Link monster, you get to special on this card from the hand for free, so it is a nice extender, which is why you could arguably see you playing more of it, but I'm not relying on that effect. I'm not relying that I draw it or that I'm specifically going to search it. I have other targets that I would rather search than it, and this is the ideal scenario that I want to summon from the deck, and you'll see that in the combo. If you link summon a Salamangreat Link monster, and now keep in mind, this effect is you can activate this effect. So when your card is on the board, you have to activate the effect. Do not link this off in the graveyard and then think you can use the effect later on. You can if you activate the effect. And what I'm trying to say about this is, if you just summon down Code of Soul and then link off with it, and then you try and use this effect later on to go, oh, well, I summoned Code of Soul, I can link off using a Salamangreat monster, doesn't work that way. You have to specifically declare to activate the effect while it's on the field, and then when it leaves the field or whenever, then you can use the effect at any point you want to. You just need to remember to activate it. So if you do that, you can link summon a Salamangreat Link monster using one Salamangreat Link monster you control with the same name. So it basically lets you reincarnate a Salamangreat Link monster without the field spell, which is why it's so useful, because now you can use the field spell earlier on in the combo if you need to, which you'll see in the one card at the end, but then you also have the ability to just link your Raging Phoenix into a second Raging Phoenix and move your plays further forward that way as well. So it does take a lot of resilience off of the board, which is really kind of cool. And then during your opponent's main phase, you get a quick effect to banish this card from the graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon a Link 3 or higher Cyverse Link monster. Now again, the best thing about that is if you do have the field spell in play, which is what you'll ideally want to do, and that's why your Pyro Phoenix comes into play, is you can then use the effect of Code of Soul from the graveyard to turn a Pyro Phoenix into a Pyro Phoenix, and in doing so, if it's Link summoned using itself as material, you get to destroy all cards your opponent controls. So it's a nice full-on board wipe, which is why we are now playing 2 of this. Carrying on with the other cards, we have now gone back to Lady Debug. I'm not 100% set on the starters yet. So these are the starters I'm about to show you, and I'll show you all in one go. So I've got 2 Buffalo, 2 Debug, and the 1 Fire. Now obviously the Fire is the one you want to be relying on the least because it does Fire lock you, and you will need to go through cards, mainly your Cyverse Wicked, to get your combo pushing, and unfortunately Wicked is a dark, but you'll see that again later on in the combo. Everything else you are pretty much open to use whatever you want. The Buffalo, I just feel that is a nice kind of way that as long as it leaves the field, you get to ditch one and draw, which can help you get into your extenders of Code of Soul. And then the Lady Debug is your ideal starter for your 1-card combo, but it is the most susceptible to stuff like Ashes, Imperms, and Veilers, which we have loads running around right now. And that's where your hand trap lineup, with the space of being able to play Crossout Designator, can come into play, which is really important. So there are times when I'm considering maybe playing 3 Lady Debug rather than the 2 Buffalo, 1 Buffalo, 3 Debug, but I wanted to kind of get the balance, and I still need to test it to see which one I feel is more prominent and more effective in the current format. On top of that as well, again, if you just wanted to go, you know what, I just want to play 3 Debug and I've got 1 extra space for the Buffalo, that's when you start putting in Veilers and everything else. And you'll see with my hand trap lineup that I've kind of gone with a bit of a balance, but you adapt it to the local environment and the format that you're going into as to whether or not you feel Nibiru is worth main decking, Droll, Veilers, you name it, you can adapt it. For the spell cards, of course, triple Salamangreat Circle. Not much more really needs to be said about that. Insanely powerful card. And then I'm choosing to play 1 Salamangreat Charge and 1 Fire Recovery. Now, the reason I'm playing both of these is because you are going to burn through your extra deck quite quickly and quite easily. So being able to recycle them is really, really important. You can play double Fire Recovery, but the reason I play at a 1 and a 1 is the charges are hard once per turn, whereas Fire Recovery, it's spin and draw. Its revival is not a hard once per turn, but its spin and draw is. So both of these have pretty much similar effects. This one is a quick effect, so it does give you a bit more of a benefit for going during your opponent's turn as well. Target 3 of your fire monsters that are banished and or in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. And if you do, shuffle 2 of them into the deck, and if you do, special on the remaining monster. But for the rest of the turn, its effects are negated and it cannot attack. So again, this is quite useful because it allows you to bring back one of your link monsters as long as it has been successfully linked. And then of course, if you've got the Code of Soul in the graveyard, you can banish it and then reincarnate in order to complete that OT, like that board wipe with the Pyro Phoenix as well. If you control a fire, ritual, synchro, fusion, or XYZ, or a link monster whose current attack is different from its original attack, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Now, obviously, that's only going to be effective if you ideally use either Heat Soul, or if you're ideally going to be using, not Heat Soul, sorry, Heat Leo, or the Chimera Fusion, which we're not doing in this build. The Fire Recovery, you target a fire monster in your graveyard, you send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, you special summon the targeted monster. You can banish this card from the graveyard, target 3 of your fire monsters that are banished and or in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck and draw 1 card. So obviously this gives you Recycle and Revival. This will give you Recycle at the cost of discarding the card, but then you also get to recover the card you discarded. So you wanted to, you could play 2 of this. The difference is this one's searchable, which is why I've gone with a 1 and a 1, but it's entirely up to you. Now, I only have 2 Pyro Raging Phoenixes. I did have a third. I was like, I'm not keeping the third at the price they currently are. I still need 2 to play Salamangreat, so I was happy to get rid of a third. So as a preview, I'm only playing 2, not 3. I think 3 is a little bit overkill. What it does mean is it does mean you need to put your reliance on recycling your extra deck cards a little bit more, but you should be able to get an OTK once you go through 2 of these. Then for the rest of the Salamangreat spells, we've got the 1 Sanctuary, and then of course we've got the 1 Will. I'm still playing the 1 Rage and the 1 Roar. I know some people are cutting the Rage out because there are times when you don't really want to destroy your opponent's cards, but I feel that in the right matchup, like, this is absolutely insane. More times than not throughout the combo, and again, you'll see it at the end, is you're going to search your Roar, which is obviously an Omni Negate, which is going to be so much better for you. But then the Rage still gives you that ability that should your opponent clear off your board and you're not able to stop it, or like they Kaiju you, Lava Golem you, for example, you can still have Rage with a card in the hand that will still get you some form of disruption. But that's a very specific kind of scenario. And in the past, when you were ending your first turn board, you were probably ending with just 1 Salamangreat Link monster, whereas now you're going to be ending with 2. Then for the hand traps, so completely adapt these hand traps depending on the environment you are going to. If you have more effectiveness with stuff like an Effect Veiler, then of course play that. I decided to go with Ash Blossom, which in this build is pretty much a staple. There is a route, and you'll see this in the Pump Cards combo that I'll specifically put in the description below, where you actually summon out an Ash Blossom from the deck. And I was like, why is he summoning Ash Blossom from the deck? And then what was really funny is as he continued the combo, he actually returned the Ash Blossom from the graveyard to the hand. I was like, oh my god, he just searched out an Ash Blossom, which is insane. So that was really kind of cool. I think Imperm is, again, another staple. So I'd say that these 6 cards are staples. Then I've got 2 Ogres. Now, this is, of course, with a Tenpai matchup. If your local environment is so heavy Tenpai, then this is going to be more effective than main decking in Nibiru. If not, then of course you can swap those out for Nibiru's, and if that's less effective, you can swap them out for Imperm. So, not Imperm, sorry, Veilers. So you've got the best of everything. I decided to go with triple crossout. Now, arguably, if I'm main decking crossout, you could consider putting in Nibiru, because at the moment, the crossout is only going to be able to protect you from an Ash, an Imperm, or an Ogre. So if you want to make it more consistent, you can do. I specifically, rather than playing Nibiru's or Veilers, I went with 2 talents. And the reason I went with 2 talents is it gives you that benefit of going second and also going first with so many hand traps running around in the format. At least with talents, you can then get the knowledge of your opponent's hand if you feel that you can continue further. And if you don't feel you can continue further, but you need an extender, you can talents to draw. So it's giving you the benefit of everything you need. And of course, going second, you can steal one of your opponent's monsters and then use it as material if you want to move up, because we are playing SP Little Knight in the extra deck. And then the final card is Crossout Designator, Called by the Grave. Which is actually quite funny because you could cross out Designator Called by the Grave, which has happened to me a couple of times. But like I said, this element here, you adapt as you see fit. If you don't feel that crossout is as effective to the environment, then of course take that out. That's your 3 Nibiru's. If you don't think talents is effective, take them out. That's your 2 your Veilers. It really does come down to the environment, so adapt it as you see fit. Moving on to the extra deck, so we'll go from 4s down. So we've got 2 Salamangreat, Raging Phoenix. This is the only issue with Salamangreats as a whole, is a lot of the extra deck is always going to require 2 of the same monster. I know there are builds that play 3 of this. Honestly, I sold my 3rd, like I said earlier, and I was like, I'm not prepared to, I don't feel that 3 is absolutely necessary. Yes, it will help. Like, if I can't recycle the second one back into the deck, it will cause me an issue, but for that, the price tag that it's at, I was like, I'll go with the play of recycling it. And fingers crossed, this is in quarter century in the Rarity Collection, but that's just my hopes and dreams on that one. 2 Pyro Phoenix. So like I said, now that we've got the Code of Soul, this is more effective for you because you will actually make it, because you can make it with your Promethean Princess when you bring it back from the graveyard and then one other monster. And then what you're doing is you're setting up during your opponent's turn that you're going to get the ability to board wipe. On top of that as well, you can also target a Link monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field, again triggering the Promethean Princess. And if a Link monster or monsters is special to your opponent's field, except during a damage state, you get to target one of those monsters, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack, so it gives you burn damage as well. 2 Salamangreat Wolf. Now again, this is kind of the argument of trying to fit as much in the extra deck as you possibly can for variety, but this one of course is one that you're going to want to focus on recycling. So when you're looking at it, you do have the 2 recycle cards that I showed you already in the form of the spells, and then of course you've got your Jaguar as well, which is going to help you do so. And then of course we've got triple Baylink. So Baylink is probably the most important one to have at 3 in my opinion, because it is your starter, and you'll see in the 1 card combo that you will go through pretty much all 3 of them. Then of course we've got the Promethean Princess, followed up by Heater, the Fire Charmer, and then the ones that are not fire, we've got the 1 Cyverse Wicked. So this one is actually really important now, because this is how you can get to your Code of Soul and other cards as well. So this Link Summon card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. Cyverse monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by card effect, so again it lets you play around Ghost Ogre quite nicely. And if a monster or monsters is special summoned to a zone this card points to while you control this monster, except during a damage state, you banish a Cyverse monster from the graveyard to add a Cyverse tuner from the deck to the hand. Now, surprise, surprise, what is a tuner in this deck? And again, I didn't even realise it until I definitely looked at it and I was like, oh my god, that card is a tuner. And that is, once I get to it, where are you, where are you, where are you? Poof. Weasel. This is why Weasel is so important in this deck, because Weasel will actually help you get into preview your Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Horse Prince, and this lets you special summon a level 3 fire monster from the deck. So, what does that let you get into? Funnily enough, that's going to let you get into your Code of Soul. So you can kind of see the utility behind all of this is you're adding Weasel, and then you get to trigger Weasel because you have 2 or more Salamangreats in the graveyard. You special summon it, and then you just need another level 3 on the board, so you're going to synchro into the Horse Prince. Horse Prince then gets you the Code of Soul, and you've got your Code of Soul in rotation, which everything you need to. And when you're looking at this board here, that's your Promethean Princess, that's your Promethean Princess. You're in a very good position, which is absolutely insane. The other extra deck monsters that we are playing is the 1 Salamangreat Mirage Stalio. Very important in the deck as well, just because it does get you that ability to spin a card back as well, but also being able to get a Jag from the deck, getting a Fire from the deck if you do want to go down the Firelock route, but also giving you access to a Gazelle, a Spinny, anything you might be missing at that particular point. And it is generic level 3, so you can technically overlay with these 2, but more times than not, you're probably going to want to be summoning these from the deck or getting them to the deck in rotation in one way or another. The last card is SP Little Knight. There was just times where I've played Salamangreats before, and it's like, actually, being able to get into a card that is generic, which obviously this one needs Cyverse. Yes, of course, your Promethean Princess is slightly generic as well, which is quite nice, but being able to have a Link 2 monster that is generic to then be able to banish and constantly keep floating can be very, very helpful. Obviously, you do need to be a little bit careful when you are locking yourself into fires, but I feel that this is just one of them cards that will save you quite a few times, so it's rather use it if you have it. But if you don't have it, again, you have an option to play a third Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. You've got a third Raging Phoenix if you want to go down that route. You can also look at putting in the Yugioh, again, if you want to go for that draw off of the back of the... Let's get the rest of the cards here. So you've got your Proxy F, OTK route, obviously with the Splash Mage and your Violet Chimera and the Pit Knight Earl. You've also got the Sprind, which can help you get into an EMP or EMP Meow Meow, Yugioh, third Wolf. Like, you've got loads of different options is what I'm saying there, basically. So that's pretty much it for the profile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the one card combo. Again, I can't shout out Pump Cards enough. I watched their combo video. I specifically didn't watch their profile video because I wanted to make, I already had an idea for the profile in mind, and my changes were really just the involvement of the horse prints, of how easy it was to get access to this Code of Soul. The rest of it was pretty staple and lined up with what I was already going to be going for. So I wanted to show off their combo, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to link to the rest of their video as well, because I highly advise, if you're interested in Salamangreats, you go and check it out, because it's actually very, very helpful with the Code of Soul. So we're going to be back in a second, and I'm going to show you that one card combo. So massive shout out to Pump Cards on this one. I take no credit for this one card combo. I just saw this and I was like, oh my god, it can do all of that from one card. Yes, of course it can be interacted with, but you need to remember you're still going to have 4 more cards in your hand, whether that be cross out, whether that be talents, whether that be more extenders. This is just to show you what you can do with the base minimum of this deck. So you're going to start off by normal summoning your Lady Debug. This is going to allow you to add your Salamangreat Gazelle from deck to the hand. You're going to link the Debug into your Balinks. You'll trigger the Balinks to search you out the Sanctuary. You're going to activate the Sanctuary, which at this exact moment in time, because of Code of Soul, it's not that big of an issue to be doing it so early doors. Then what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to relink the Balinks into a second copy, which will trigger the Gazelle. You'll summon down the Gazelle, you'll use this effect to send Spinny from deck to the graveyard, and then you're going to be able to revive the Spinny. You will then use your first Balinks and the Spinny or the Gazelle, doesn't matter which one you use, in order to get you into a Wicked, as long as you're leaving these spaces free. What you'll then do here is you'll use the Spinny, which will unfortunately get banished, but you're playing free, so it's okay, to summon out your third Balinks. This is the biggest issue of this particular combo, is you go through all 3, which is why you want to be playing so many recycle cards, or more recycle cards to help you out. This will trigger the Wicked, this will allow you to banish the Lady Debug from the graveyard, and this will allow you to search out your Weasel. Cyberse Tuner, big success. Then what you're going to do is you're going to link your Balinks plus your Wicked to get you into your Princess. Princess then of course can bring you back your Gazelle. And then what you're going to do, because you're going to have 2 Salamangreats in the graveyard, you're going to be able to special summon down the Weasel. This is then going to allow you to synchro these 2 together into the Synchro 6 of the Horse Prince, which will allow you to trigger the Horse Prince effect to get your Code of Soul into rotation. Excellent. You'll then use Princess plus your Horse Prince to get you into the Raging Phoenix, and then you're going to activate the Code of Soul effect. Now don't forget to activate it, you can do it before you go into Raging Phoenix, it really is up to you, but just make sure you remember to activate it. This will then allow you to relink the Raging Phoenix, and in doing so, this will also allow you to trigger the Weasel effect. So this will go back to the deck, as well as being able to trigger the effect of Raging Phoenix to search out your Raw. Your Weasel's going to go back to the main deck, which will let you draw 1 card, and then you give your opponent any monster. It doesn't really make much of a difference what you give them, because what you'll be doing is you'll be triggering on the new chain the Princess to come back to destroy Code of Soul and the card you've just given your opponent. And in doing so, that's then going to give you the ability of having as much on the board as possible, because you can trigger the second Raging Phoenix in the graveyard to bring back as it was destroyed, and then you're going to link both of these together, and that's going to get you into your Pyro Phoenix. So what you've ended up with off of 1 card is you've got a Promethean Princess in the graveyard, you've got a Raging Phoenix that can float back, you've got 3 Balinks that can protect from destruction, you also have the Code of Soul, which will allow you to relink your Pyro Phoenix into a board wipe, and if that wasn't enough, you're still going to have 4 more cards in the hand, plus the 1 random card you drew. So if any of those are hand traps, you're just going to have even more forms of interruption on your opponent, which is absolutely insane. So with everything right here, you've got pretty much the setup that you need. The only thing you're missing is recycling, and if you get to this exact point here and you have the ability to recycle, you could put both of these back and you're good to rock and roll. So very, very good combo. I love the idea of it. I love that it's so simple. Yes, I know it does rely on specifically having debug, which is why you might argue to play something like a Sunnet Mining or play a third debug. Completely understandable. like I said, I'm still playing around with them with my original starters, and maybe because I'm playing Cross Out, then playing Silent Mining wouldn't be such a bad thing, but I honestly just hate the idea of activating it without being able to protect it, and then you're ditching one, which sometimes can help, sometimes can be very damaging, and if you get stopped with an Ash Blossom, or even if the card you have then searched to summon still gets stopped with an Imperm or anything like that, you're then going to be neg all 3 cards that you've pretty much played off of that, and you still need an extender, whereas if you just hard open a card like a Buffalo, it lets you play around certain interactions, and you can still build up your board with the other combos, which you'll see in the pump card video. Like I said, I'll put that in the description below so you can see all of the combos. I highly advise you to go and check it out. I think it's a great great tutorial for anyone looking to play Salamangreats, especially with the Code of Soul involvement. Like I said, you can play it without it, but I actually do like what the Code of Soul adds to the deck. I think it's really kind of cool and gives it another nice dimension. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.